Is the UAE losing its magic? A series of trillion-dollar corporations are planning to withdraw faster than ever. But don't mistake this for a typical financial crisis. It could be much worse than you think. We are witnessing a mass migration of talent and capital. When Riyadh began declaring war with unprecedented privileges, the UAE suddenly found itself caught in an uncompromising economic confrontation. The once thriving economic zones are now at risk of becoming financial ghost towns. If you think you are not involved, remember this. When the capital flow in the UAE trembles, the whole world will feel the aftershocks. Will you stay to witness the conclusion? Or will you be the next to leave? Right now, we will dissect the transformation plans of billionaires that mainstream media has never mentioned. To understand why this exodus is frightening, we need to grasp the essence of what has made Dubai. Dubai is not an ordinary city. It resembles a deliberately designed financial construct where everything, from tax laws to architecture, serves one purpose: attracting global capital. For over 40 years, Dubai has built a very simple yet extremely powerful promise. No matter how unstable the Middle East is, this place remains stable. And it is that promise that has created the miracle. From an oasis, where 50 years ago there was only sand and sea breeze, it is now a refuge for over 81,000 millionaires. In just 2025, nearly 10,000 wealthy individuals moved in, bringing with them approximately 60 billion USD in assets. Here, multinational corporations find the trifecta of power: zero taxes, absolute security, and an open door to the world. While neighboring regions are mired in instability, the UAE has transformed itself into the Switzerland of the Middle East. There is a classic misconception that Dubai became wealthy due to oil. The truth is, oil and gas currently account for less than 2% of this emirate's GDP. So what do they live on? The answer lies in two words: faith. Dubai doesn't sell oil, they sell stability. Each skyscraper in Business Bay is not built with concrete, but with implicit commitments to a risk-free business environment. That's why family offices, organizations managing hundreds of millions, even billions of USD are flocking here. The Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, alone manages over 1.2 trillion USD in assets, a thought-provoking figure. Dubai is not just a place to live, but a place to bet on the financial future. I once heard a tech CEO say, "In Dubai, you don't fear the police, you fear change." That change has come when Saudi Arabia, the giant awakening right next door, began issuing ultimatums: either set up headquarters in Riyadh or lose access to the largest market in the Gulf. It can be seen. This model operates like a closed ecosystem where everything depends on the presence of foreigners. Foreigners bring money in, create demand for real estate, stimulate finance, sustain the entire service economy. If this flow of people slows down, the entire system starts to feel the pressure. An expert once compared Dubai to a giant international airport. It only functions well when there is a constant flow of people coming and going. And this is what is being put to the test. Not the buildings, not the infrastructure, but rather the belief that Dubai is always a safer place than the rest of the region. If you find analyses like this useful, you can subscribe to the channel as we will delve deeper into how global money flows actually operate. In the next part, we will see what caused that trust to start wavering and why the reaction of the ultra-rich is unlike anyone else's. For decades, Dubai operated under an almost unspoken assumption that the geopolitical instability of the region would not touch here. But then that changed, not by a political statement, but by very specific and hard-to-ignore events. Remember these images. The most modern airports, luxurious five-star hotels, and the Jebel Ali port, the heartbeat of global trade. All of them were once considered inviolable. But then, reports of unrest events conducted by drones and the escalating tensions in the Strait of Hormuz began to appear in financial news. For a trillion-dollar corporation, a scratch on the glass of the headquarters is not just a repair cost. It's a signal. When the defense radars start operating in the sky that was once reserved for fireworks displays, the risk algorithms of London's insurance industry begin to go haywire. Why is this so important? Because Dubai operates like a Swiss watch set in the middle of a burning construction site. Safety is not just a feeling, It is an asset that can be valued. When the internal security reports of the corporations are sent to the CEO's desk, the question is no longer, how much do we earn in Dubai? But rather, how much can we lose overnight? The truth is, physical damages can be repaired with money, but psychological damage is an open wound. If you feel that these analyses of geopolitical cash flows provide a new perspective, let's continue this journey together by subscribing to the channel. That's the best way not to miss the next pressure points of the global economy. Remember this saying, Dubai doesn't lose money. Dubai is starting to lose trust. A threatened port does not just delay a single ship. It shakes the entire global supply chain that considers the UAE the safest transit hub. Risk analysts often use the term risk premium. When this index rises, Dubai's zero tax advantage begins to be offset by insurance costs and reserve costs. The giants quietly look at the map and realize the cost of glamour is becoming too expensive compared to the peace they truly need. But the security shock is just the tip of the iceberg. As soon as trust was shaken, an ambitious predator right next door delivered the decisive blow. We are talking about Riyadh. The mass media often only sees the surface, a newly inaugurated tower or a mega project being announced. But in the upper echelons of finance, the real movements often take place in the shadows, through telling numbers and decisions not publicly disclosed in the media. Here are 5 things that the trillion-dollar giants are quietly doing. Things that are completely changing the landscape of the UAE. If you imagine a bunch of CEOs closing their offices and leaving in a panic, the reality is not like that. What is happening is a form of risk mitigation, systematic risk reduction. Some major investment funds have started allowing employees to work remotely. Some companies are quietly relocating key departments to Europe or Asia. And there is a noteworthy detail. These decisions are often not widely announced because they are not withdrawals, but reallocations. In other words, the rich don't run when there is a crisis, they prepare before the crisis occurs. There is an index not included in the GDP report, but accurately reflects market sentiment: the demand for private jets. In recent months, the number of private flights leaving Dubai has surged. Last-minute flight prices have skyrocketed to $300,000, a staggering amount even for the elite. But here's the surprising part. They are not flying away for a vacation. An executive once shared, "We don't leave, we make sure we are not in the same place." This is a fundamental principle in risk management. Do not concentrate all assets or people in one place. Flight data analysts have noticed a recurring route: Dubai, Riyadh, Dubai, Singapore, Dubai, Geneva. This reveals a strategy: diversifying risk. They are not completely leaving the UAE, but they are putting their eggs in different baskets. If you find this data analysis interesting, don't forget to subscribe to join me in the next in-depth newsletters. Do you know what is scarier than a company leaving? That's when they stay but are just a facade. Many multinational corporations are starting to activate Plan B, splitting their headquarters management teams across several neighboring countries, partly in Dubai to maintain relations. But the core departments of legal, finance, and technology have been relocated to the new economic zones of Saudi Arabia or Qatar. An internal statistic shows that the number of applications for transferring business licenses to intermediary transit zones has increased by 25% compared to the same period last year. The bitter truth is, once businesses have set up the infrastructure to leave, they rarely return to invest fully as before. If you wait for official reports on capital outflows from the UAE, you might be a few months late, because the market does not operate based on past data. It operates based on future expectations. A few signs have emerged. The stock market is temporarily closed. Technology infrastructure disruptions are affecting banks. Some financial activities are slowing down. This is not a crisis, but a signal that the system is under pressure. A familiar principle in finance is, prices reflect information before the information becomes clear. This is the most important part that I want you to pay attention to. The term safe haven premium is the reason why real estate and finance in Dubai always have sky-high prices. People are willing to pay extra just to be in an absolutely safe place. When this premium disappears due to geopolitical instability, the true value of the asset will be adjusted to its floor level. Real estate. No longer a safe haven for money, but a risky asset. Capital flow. Shifting from long-term investment to short-term speculation. An expert once likened this to the pressure in an airplane cabin. You don't need it to explode. Just a slight leak, and everything starts to change. When the belief in a safe haven is shaken, the entire economic ecosystem built upon it will be affected in a chain reaction. Dubai is facing a survival dilemma. How to revalue itself when the label of absolute safety is no longer exclusive. If you are following along, you may have realized this is not a story about who is leaving, but about how they are leaving and why. If you want to understand more deeply how global money flows actually work, you can subscribe to the channel because the next part will delve into a more important question: why this is more dangerous than you think, and what could happen if this process continues in the next 6-12 months. At first glance, what is happening in Dubai may not be too serious. No collapse, no clear financial crisis. But for those who understand how cash flow operates, this is the most noteworthy phase, because the biggest risks often do not come from what you can see. It comes from the underlying structure. Unlike Saudi Arabia, which has a huge oil buffer to absorb shocks, Dubai's model is like a sophisticated mechanical watch. It is extremely precise, but if just one grain of risk slips in, the entire mechanism will come to a halt. Imagine, if foreigners leave tomorrow, who will fill the million-dollar apartments? Who will operate the financial centers? Dubai does not have a strong enough domestic market to save itself. This is an economy with no way back. Global capital flows are the coldest thing on the planet. It has no nationality, no loyalty, and absolutely no emotions. Risk management algorithms on Wall Street or in London do not care about the beauty of the Burj Khalifa. They only care about the risk-adjusted return. When the risk increases, money will evaporate with just an enter command. The real danger lies in the domino effect. When a few trillion-dollar corporations leave, the demand for high-end services decreases. This is followed by a decrease in demand for real estate. When house prices drop, individual investors will panic and withdraw their capital. A chain reaction that no fiscal policy can immediately stop. Many people fear a big explosion, but the reality is even scarier. It's not a collapse overnight, but a slow bleed. Dubai will not disappear, but it may gradually lose its vitality, becoming a museum of outdated luxury while the flow of money has shifted to new promised lands. If you are following along, you might see, this is not a story about the present, but about the future trajectory. If you are interested in in-depth analyses like this, you can subscribe to the channel because the next part will answer an important question. Is everything really worse than we think? At this point, an important question needs to be asked. Is everything really worse than you think? Or are we overreacting? Because if we look at it objectively, Dubai still possesses foundations that many other financial centers find hard to replace. No personal income tax, no inheritance tax, a financial system designed according to international standards, and more importantly, a government capable of responding very quickly to crises. In recent events, official information was released almost immediately. Essential activities were maintained, and the system continued to operate relatively smoothly. A noteworthy detail: most major businesses have not left yet. If we look back at history, this is not the first time Dubai has faced challenges. During the 2008 financial crisis, the real estate market experienced a significant decline. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the tourism industry nearly froze. But after each such time, Dubai not only recovers, but also restructures to become more attractive. Dubai cannot avoid crises, but they are very good at leveraging crises. So what about now? According to many analysts, we have not yet seen signs of a capital flight, a large-scale capital outflow. Instead, it is a more technical concept: risk recalibration. This means investors are not pulling money out of Dubai. They are just adjusting their allocation. A portion of the capital may be transferred elsewhere. A part of the operation can be decentralized, but the overall system remains intact. This is like a large ship encountering waves. It hasn't sunk yet. It is still moving, but passengers are starting to pay more attention to life vests, and the crew is beginning to review backup plans. The question is no longer whether there is a crisis or not, but how much the level of risk has changed. If you are following along, you might see the truth always lies in between two extremes. There is no immediate collapse, but it is no longer in the absolute state of safety as before. If you like this balanced analytical approach, you can subscribe to the channel because the next part will broaden the perspective. If Dubai is facing pressure, then where will be the places benefiting from this shift? In the financial world, money never sleeps and never simply disappears. It simply changes its state and location. When the shields in the UAE began to show cracks, a geographical restructuring of global capital flows quietly took place. So, who is the one standing behind, quietly opening the doors to welcome these trillion-dollar figures? The first name is none other than Singapore. Dubbed the Dubai of Asia, this island nation is becoming an ideal haven for capital seeking absolute stability. Family offices in Dubai are whispering a formula to each other. Earn money in the Middle East, but keep it in Singapore. Why? Because in a world full of geopolitical turmoil, Singapore possesses a strong legal filter and a transparent governance platform, something billionaires see as insurance for their wealth. But the most formidable rival is right next door, Riyadh. Saudi Arabia no longer hides its ambition to dethrone the UAE. Through the Program HQ campaign, the kingdom has issued a stern ultimatum. If corporations want to tap into the massive public spending pie from the Vision 2030 initiative, they must establish their regional headquarters in Riyadh. This is a true power play. Dubai is being forced to share the spotlight with a newly awakened giant who has the oil resources to support any fair competition. Meanwhile, traditional and more cautious capital flows are returning to London and Europe. Although the growth rate is no longer hot, the centuries-old legal system here remains a final safe haven when storms arise. If you want to gain a deeper understanding of the moves of these financial superpowers, subscribe to the channel to receive independent analyses from us every week. Look at the net asset shift chart. Money doesn't disappear, it just transitions from high risk, high return to sustainable and legalized. Experts often liken capital flows to migratory birds. They always fly to where the conditions are most favorable. When the political temperature in the UAE becomes too hot, those birds will seek lands with a more temperate legal climate. But this migration is not just a story of numbers on an electronic screen. It leaves real scars on the local economy. And that's when we have to ask the question about the future. What will Dubai be like after this exodus? If we strip away all the sensational headlines from this picture, a clear truth begins to emerge. There is no wave of mass exodus from the UAE, but there is something happening more quietly, and perhaps more importantly. Large corporations are reducing their presence, diversifying risks, and reallocating operations on a global scale. This is not a sign of collapse. This is a sign of a system being reassessed. For over 40 years, Dubai has not only built the tallest buildings in the world, they built something much harder: trust, the belief that this place is safer, more stable, and worth betting on. But for the first time, that trust is no longer a given. And perhaps this is the most accurate way to view the situation. Dubai is not collapsing, but for the first time in decades, the world is starting to doubt it. And in the financial world, sometimes a small doubt can lead to very big changes. I would love to hear your perspective. Do you think this is just a short-term fluctuation or the beginning of a long-term shift? Will Dubai recover strongly like before, or will centers like Singapore and Riyadh gradually gain the upper hand? Please share your perspective in the comments. I read deeply into such insightful viewpoints. If you are interested in how global money flows actually operate and what is happening behind the news headlines, you can subscribe to the channel. And an important note, the content in this video is compiled from various analytical sources and public data aimed at providing informative and educational perspectives. This is not investment advice or financial recommendation. Each financial decision should be considered based on personal circumstances and appropriate professional advice. Thank you for watching until now. See you in the next videos.